Hey, this week I had been working on a video and it was almost ready, but unfortunately something happened, so I had to move it to next week. So instead of having nothing, I thought I would take this chance to do a simple Q&A. I'm gonna begin with some easier questions. There are some deeper ones later on. So right now we're on the theme of clothing. Lena asks, are you working on a new clothing line? And if yes, can you maybe describe it in one word? I am working currently on the Tsuki summer line and the fall line. The summer line is going to be kind of like just a few products. I could say detail maybe, but I don't want to give away anything about the fall line. Just be ready for it, get excited because it's gonna be so cool. Alice asks, your new clothing line seems gorgeous. What are your plans for future ones? I guess this is a very similar question, but for my young clothing lines, the Marzia release lines, these may actually be the final one just because I am designing, you know, for Tsuki as well. And this will most likely be the last one, so hopefully you will like it. Sue asks, hey Marzia, your creativity really inspires me and I was wondering if you've ever tried to sew your own clothes. I know you have your own clothing line and design all the pieces. I have been interested in trying to design and sew my own clothes. Do you have any tips? I actually do. I have a sewing machine and my mom used to make clothing for bigger companies. So growing up, I would just look at her and she never really taught me. I knew how to hand stitch and do some smaller things, I guess. But for some reason, she never taught me how to use a sewing machine. So a few years back, I think 4, I taught myself how to do it. If I had any questions, I would just ask her through the phone and she would tell me what I was doing wrong. I started with a smaller kind of kid sewing machine just because that was all I could handle, and when I felt like I was confident enough, I got myself a bigger one, and it's still on the smaller size. I don't do anything too fancy, but I really like doing anything with my hands, so even creating clothes is so therapeutic to me. You know, it takes some learning, but it's really fun. Even when you buy a sewing machine, they come with the leaflet with instruction on how to use it. It's pretty straightforward, so give it a go. I think you will like it. Now we're gonna move on to some Japanese related questions. And Annie asks, have you continued studying Japanese? If so, what books are you currently using? Felix and I have been terrible. When we got back from Japan, we completely forgot. We had been so caught up with projects and this house and things happening that we just haven't found any time. But what we have been doing is to watch a ton of Japanese shows, but we have to get back into studying properly for sure. Now Camila asks, which place did you fall in love with in Japan? Super curious. Every place you visit has something different to offer. I mean, Tokyo is definitely my favorite. I wouldn't be able to pick. There are so many things that I love, and every single time I go back, even just in Tokyo, I think like, well, I've seen it all, so maybe I'll just do the same tour, but you always find something new, and every single time that happens, I just fall in love with whatever that is, so everything. Now Ivana says, I always imagined you would move to Japan. You were learning the language and have mentioned this before. After spending 1 month there, you bought a vacation house in the UK. Does this mean that after your trip, you decided to stay in the UK? The dream of moving to Japan is still very much there. Moving to Japan is not as easy as it is moving around Europe. While we're here, we wanted to really live our life without feeling like, oh, but then we may move somewhere else, so maybe we shouldn't do it. So I feel like us having this place won't take away anything from us moving somewhere else in the future. The next few questions are going to be life related in general. And the story of V asks, do you have a new passion these days? Because you always seem to be up to something new. I've been keeping a little secret from you, and it's been a few months, but in 2 weeks from now you will know everything. I kind of mentioned about this secret on my blog, but I haven't told you, and it's so difficult to keep to myself, but I think it will be worth it. Evangeline Snow asks, in the beginning of 2018, you wrote a blog post sharing your feelings about your YouTube videos, that they don't follow a certain theme. How do you feel about that now? I think that those feelings and those thoughts are still very much how I feel, but because I got the chance to talk it through with you and read your responses, I felt so overwhelmed in a positive way that, you know, it pushed me to keep going the way I was. But I also think that something that is helping me is to focus myself within other projects, which is something I was doing earlier on, but to a smaller degree. Whilst this time with the one that I can't tell you about yet, it's helping me keep a very healthy mindset and not just overthink my YouTube stuff. Now Lucy wants to know, I was wondering if you still experience problems with social anxiety with all the traveling and projects. I noticed that over the years you became much more confident and comfortable with starting new projects, and it is very inspiring to me. I do think that my anxiety is so much less than it used to be. It took time, I'm not gonna lie, but it's all about taking small steps and seeing what you're comfortable with. There are still tons of things that I say no to, so many cool opportunities that I just cannot handle. When you realize what you want to do and how you can go about it, it's way less stressful and it causes way less anxiety. So for example, traveling, it used to be something I wanted to do, but I always felt so terrified of having to be alone while doing it. And for example, a first small step for me was to take a plane alone to go to Italy. I even remember having instructions of where I needed to go and what I needed to do, just in case I was panicking in that moment, and I could have something with me that could help me get through it. And there are things that still scare me and cause me so much anxiety, but compared to the past, much less. So just don't give up, and it's normal to get overwhelmed and cry and feel all those emotions if you deal with anxiety, but know that it can get better as long as you work on yourself without feeling stressed or frustrated with yourself, because it's okay to feel that way and you will get through it. Just be patient. Now we have some relationship questions. My boyfriend just left for Malaysia for 10 days to visit his family. I'm used to having him around, and since we live together and this will be the longest time we spent apart, any advice? And what do you normally do when you're spending time away from Felix? Felix and I were always accustomed to have our own trips. When we are away from each other, we make time for each other to give an update daily and have a nice phone call before bed. And I think that does it. That's enough to make us feel like we're not really that far and we're there for each other. But whenever he's away, I really like to just pamper myself, get ahead with some work, just focus on yourself, treat yourself to something nice, maybe bake something or watch a movie that he didn't want to watch. I'm sure you do have things that you like to do, even on your own. So just do those and time will fly. Now this is such a strange question, but I see it so often for some reason, and it's, why don't you wear the necklace that Felix gave you for your first anniversary? It's the one that he bought me while we were in Greece, in Santorini. I have other jewelry that I like to wear, so I still have that, but for example, for now I've been wearing these since February because he gave me this one for Valentine's Day. And you know, if you notice me changing my jewelry, there is nothing to it. But now we made it to the questions that I'm sure a lot of you wanted to hear about. Shell asks, what will be your dream wedding dress like in color, fabric, and style? What I want is an off-the-shoulder long sleeves. Just because I have so many tattoos, I would like to get it a bit more covered up. I would like something tight fitting over here, but then that goes down a bit wider. So definitely not a mermaid dress. But I don't know if I want like a ball gown or just a little bit of a flare. I'm under the impression that when you try the dress, you will know that it's the dress. So I'm open to different things. Marzia asks, was wondering, how are the plans for the wedding? I'm really happy for you guys. Thank you. The plans aren't there yet. As soon as we got back from the trip, I got myself some like wedding planning books, and the first one I opened, in one of the first pages it said like, try to enjoy the first 2 months just being engaged and not even think about the wedding. So that's what I've been doing. Felix and I talk about it and have some vague idea of what we are interested in, but nothing too clear. We haven't started planning anything yet, so I'm sorry if this is a letdown, but that's how things are right now. Tanvi says, where are you planning on getting married? So when we got engaged, we were like, we have to do it in Japan. It happened in Japan, so we're gonna have to bring everyone to Japan. And thinking more and more about it, it will be so wonderful, but it could also be extremely difficult. So that's an option, but we have been thinking about other places, of course. Italy or Sweden. Even the UK could be a possibility, and also other places in Europe. For example, Iceland we loved, so we haven't picked a place just yet. And everyone keeps asking about the day and the place, but we don't have answers yet. Ellie wants to know, how much have you thought about your wedding? What kind of wedding do you envision? Do you have any ideas? Although it is a deeply personal, special event, it will be great to have video updates on your planning progress. Kind of like wedding planning vlogs. When we get down into the actual planning, I might film some stuff like me trying on dresses. I watch a lot of those online and they are so fun. Regarding what kind of wedding, something intimate, so not too many people. A short and sweet ceremony in a beautiful place. Something that I really liked was like botanical garden weddings. So you get the glass house and a lot of plants everywhere. They look so beautiful to me. And now the final question, when are you and Felix actually getting married? Next year, either spring or summer, but depending on where we decide to do it, we will have to see. I felt like I had to address these wedding related questions right now because so many of you seem to have a lot of questions, and even though I don't have an answer, I just wanted you to know. I'm not just not saying anything about it because I don't want to share, but simply because Felix and I have been so busy with other things right now that we haven't had the time to fully think about what we want for the future, but we are gonna start thinking about it, in the following months. Just right now, we don't have any answers. But yeah, this is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you very soon. Bye!